Hello. Today we're going to talk about flow or impermanence. Everything and everyone is changing all the time. Buddhists call this phenomena impermanence. In China they call it qi or qi. It's also called flow. And the ancient Greek Heraclitus famously explained the meaning of flow by saying, you can never step into the same river twice. Everything and everyone is changing all the time. Flow is everywhere, even where you don't see it. Centuries can pass before a mountain will show any sign of change. Still, it's still eroding, little by little. Rivers, of course, are flowing all the time. They're always displaying their flow. And though we may not be aware of it, human beings are changing, heartbeat by heartbeat. We all know with our heads that this is happening, though mostly we don't see it until the change is significant. For the most part, that's because our senses aren't finely tuned enough to see change happening. But it's also because we don't want to see it. I'm sure that many of you, like me, look in the mirror sometimes and think, do I really look like that? What happened to the 20-year-old? Our stability-hungry egos don't live comfortably with change. Perhaps the most important reason is that it includes death. The end of the self as we know it. No one really wants that. But want it or not, change is happening. It's very important to know that. Why? Because it's putting us in a place of being able to accept the change and therefore be in touch with the creative, rather wild, beyond all reason, nature of our world. Who you are in this moment is different from the person you are becoming even as I speak to you. When we meditate, when we get together to sit, we learn how to be consciously aware of change. We watch it happening as we listen to thoughts come and go. We watch it as feelings in the body come and go. And of a lot of importance, we also learn how to let go of it. If there's a troublesome emotion, perhaps it's anxiety, a knot in your chest, it is possible, particularly in meditation, to let go of it. Not permanently, but let go of it enough so that you're teaching your neurological system that the anxiety doesn't last forever. It comes and it can go, and then it'll come. Developing the capacity to let go of these internal thoughts and feelings gives us room. It's room for a much wider, more inclusive experience of the stillness, the silence, the spaciousness that we've been talking about over these past few months. But that is our work here when we get together. And today we're focusing on the experience of flow, of change. So there are several ways to talk about impermanence. The first is the reality of death. It's an important perspective, and you know, as I know, that coming to peace with it, to have some acceptance of the reality of that, can shift the way you relate to the world. If you're not coming to some peace with it, it's taking a huge amount of energy, a lot of energy that people have, a lot of energy people use to deny it. There are so many things that can be said about that, but the one that comes to mind right now is the amount of energy that we put into life-saving strategies and impose upon the dying, sometimes with their not knowing about it and even making a choice. At any rate, death is the downside of impermanence. But we can also talk about flow or impermanence as the simple reality of change, the changing nature of everything that is. This is the upside of impermanence. There are many ways to experience that upside. It might be running or swimming or listening to the movement of music or being in the ocean on the waves. There is that sense of things moving, changing. Seeing clouds run across the sky, that's flow. Lastly, impermanence is about interdependence. For example, the flow of water in a river contains many different kinds of organisms, bacteria, viruses, single-cell amoebas. They each have their own separate form, but they all are all part of the flow of the river. They are the many in the one. In another example of this interdependency that I like to quote, it's from Thich Nhat Hanh. He starts with a logger who's cutting down a tree, and the workers who load that tree onto a truck. It continues, his description, with the truck driver who delivers it to a sawmill. And then the workers of the sawmill create the planks that are sent to the stores, whose workers put them on display so that a carpenter can come and buy them and make a table. A perspective, and then of course there's the couple that buys the table and eat their meals around it. From one perspective, they're all separate acts, atoms wandering around the civilized world. But from the perspective that we are all connected in this interdependent world, we are one. I like to think of the world of interdependence or flow as the world's standard operating procedure. It's basic to the way the world works.